Welcome back to Love 101. This is the introduction to Part C, and I'm so glad you're here because this is the exciting part. This is where this course finally starts to get really, really good and informative and exciting and life-changing. Part A, what is love? It asked kind of the broad question and made the case for the fact that we don't really know. We don't understand love well enough. We don't teach it. We don't convey it. We don't have enough of it in our lives. And so we need this class. Part B, one-word answers. That addressed some of the Pinterest level things like love is a feeling. Yeah, we knew that. We felt that before. And that's about as deep as a lot of people understand it. Or love is an action. Putting out the point that yes, if you don't do something about it, is it really love? Or does your love have any value? Good point, but that really does not address the big picture or show you so many intricacies about why love is an action, and it just helps it. I mean, you can do an action. You can bring someone flowers. Is that love? Not necessarily. Does it make you love more? Not necessarily. But if you understand the process of how love happens and the desires and motivations of love happens, and you build those into your actions, now it makes a difference. Love is a choice. Well, that's true. You can choose to love or not love. But if you don't know the steps to take, if you don't know exactly how to choose love, is it really a choice? Are you really free to do that? I don't think so. No, you need to understand to have that freedom. And so here we are in Part C, which contains 12 chapters for the 12 distinct, different, unique experiences that we all refer to as love. And each of those chapters is going to break down the different types of love. It's going to explain how they happen, why they happen, how you can apply it, give you steps. It's going to make you good at that. And not only that, but to be able to distinguish between these different emotional, mental, physical experiences you're going through or that you want to go through. And you'll be able to begin to tell them apart, which is super fascinating, extremely helpful. Let me give you a quick overview of the chapters. Number 1, attraction. Now you may be thinking, attraction, that's not love, that's just, oh, something looks nice. On one hand, you have a point. It's not really full-blown love. However, we often use the word love to denote that, right? You see somebody who looks really good and you're like, oh, I'm in love. And so because we call that love so often, it deserves its own chapter. However, there's a second reason that's even a better justification for why attraction gets its own chapter, and that is that attraction is the birthplace of love. This is step number 1. For any of the other 11 loves, this is where love begins. Now, I'm not saying this person that you're attracted to has to be beautiful or sexual appealing. It just means that there's something about them that draws you toward them. That's the definition of attraction, right? That makes you want to connect a little bit more, that at least gets your attention, because if that doesn't happen, then you're not going to be motivated to take the subsequent steps to develop, the other kinds of love. So step 1, chapter 1, attraction. That's great. Chapter 2, I don't keep you waiting. I don't say let's build up from the small ones and keep the valuable stuff at the end so you'll watch all the way to the end like one of those horrible TV specials that's boring until the big climax at the end. Instead, I jump right in and give you the big one. This is the gold standard of loves. This is the touchstone. If we all got together, everyone in the world, and we voted on which of the 12 loves deserves to use that word, this one would win, hands down. And it is invested love. Now, elsewhere, you may hear it called mature love and real love, and those are good names for it. But I chose one that's much more descriptive of how it actually happens. It's much more helpful. So in the videos for chapter 2, you will learn the 3-step process for how to create invested love. Attraction, obviously, I just told you that one. And the name of invested love gives you a clue to step 2, invest. We'll talk all about that, show you how to do that. And then step 3, here's a word you probably don't know, cathect. That one you have less control over, but if that happens, then you're in good shape and you can keep growing. So you'll understand this process. You'll also learn about love's 3 primary desires and goals that will inform your actions and help you be so much of a better lover. Then you can learn your love skills, you can enhance those, develop them, and become a better lover. Chapter 3 is the other biggest one that you're probably hoping for, a lot of you, romantic love. So we go into that, I explain what it is, how it works, and as it turns out there's more than one type of romantic love. Then there's different thought and emotional processes going on. So you definitely want to know which one you're experiencing or which one you want to have so you can recognize it, because one of the biggest ones is called romantic illusion. And it's just that. You see somebody and you think, oh, I'm in love. They're perfect. When in fact, you're not actually seeing them at all. And what are you seeing? Oh, this is one of the coolest things I found in all my research. So interesting. So we'll get into that in chapter 3. Chapter 4 is another type of romantic love. And I was debating, I almost call this one true love. Because when you watch, the Disney princesses and a lot of Hollywood and this cultural idea of what love is, this is what we're kind of sold on. This is what the marketers are trying to sell us. And it had 2 attributes of true love are that it has these powerful emotions, which, by the way, sometimes is a sign of, it's a bad sign, bad indication of lasting good love. So we'll cover that in chapter 3. And also that it lasts forever. And of course, when you fall in love, even if it's off to a bad start, it feels like it's going to last forever. That's part of that illusion. But if you want it to really last forever, chapter 4 is where it's at. But instead of calling it true love, because that's a little misunderstood, I think I'm going to call it beauty love. Because once again, what I want with this course is not just to tell you, oh, this is the kind of love you have. This is how you are. No, I want to say, this is what you could become. This is how you can develop. I want to make this world a better place, not just come out like another Facebook quiz. Which Disney princess are you? So, chapter 4, beauty love, fascinating, useful, how you can make it last and make your life just stunningly beautiful. Chapter 5, another one of the big ones we often use the word love for, pleasure. And this covers a range of pleasures from, of course, like making love, which generates all those kind of chemicals that make you want to cuddle and drop your boundaries and make you feel connected with the other person. So that's useful. And also at the other end of the scale, we'll also talk about just things like, oh, I love this ice cream, right? You don't mean you love it, not in the same way you love your children and your family and your friends and your romantic partner. And yet we'll address that and give you some insights about that. Chapter 6, this one is one that a lot of people think, if they saw all these, just the titles of the 12 chapters in a row, they might say, oh, that's the best one. Unconditional love, right? Because if it's unconditional, doesn't that sound like there's more of it? And as we Westerners know, especially us Americans, right? More is better. Well, yes and no. I mean, unconditional love is really important and it plays specific roles. It helps develop a foundation of safety so that you can go out and have positive relationships in the future and feel accepted. That's really important. But it's not more than the other loves. It's a different kind of love. And there are some things that invested love does, for example, which are way more important actually than what unconditional love does. Chapter 7 is kind of the companion to that, deserved love, conditional love. Does that sound bad? Maybe, but that's because you don't understand it yet. That's super crucial. That is another one that you need for developing that foundation of safety and walking out in the world and being a success, and having the confidence to go forward. So if you're a parent and you're wondering how to raise your children the best with, the most loving, healthy, helpful way, you really need chapter 6 and 7, unconditional love and deserved love. They work together great. Chapter 8, universal love. In a way, this is really just chapter 2, invested love, extended to every particle in the universe or every being on earth, wherever you want to draw your limits. But it also has some really useful distinct things when we start talking about that. For example, sometimes it's easier to love everyone than it is just to love one individual. To make that choice, let that be your starting point, has some benefits. Also, if you're religious, or if not, I don't care. If you want to understand God better, some really good points in here to do that, because a lot of people say, well, if he exists and if he's loving, like everyone says, then how come there's so much suffering in the world? Well, this explains why. It makes it obvious why. And you're at least going to stop and say, oh, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe you're going through some hard times and you're a believer, and you're trying to do the right thing and still you suffer. And you're like, well, how can God let this happen? Chapter 8 explains why. Helps you get a better perspective and get more out of it and maybe get through that trial a little bit faster. So that's good. Chapter 9, self-love. Once again, this is an extension of chapter 2, invested love, because loving yourself, it happens to be the same thing that you can do when you love other people. But it's such a challenge in our world, all those competitive people on Facebook looking better than you, and the marketers trying to nag you and make you feel bad about yourself so you'll buy their products as if that'll make you feel better, and so forth. Loving yourself is a challenge, and so this definitely deserves its own chapter. It has some unique aspects that you'll need. Also, by the way, I thought this was important enough. I wrote the first book about this, Love 301, How to Love Yourself. Check it out on Amazon or on uoflife.com/books. By the way, you don't want to miss out on the rest of these videos, so make sure and click this button down here in the corner, my little U of Life logo. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. All right, chapter 10, friendship. Friendship is a very distinct kind of love, and there's some really interesting things to say about it. In C.S. Lewis's book, The Four Loves, I got 12, he only got 4, but friendship is one of the ones he lists, and he makes some good points about it. For example, he points out that romantic love, you're looking at your romantic partner, right? You're enjoying each other, you're enjoying yourself through that person. But with friendship, you're looking in the same direction. You're walking forward, sharing your life experience. So it's pretty cool to understand friendship and be able to apply that and definitely improve your friendships out there as well. Chapter 11, affection. This is another one of the 4 loves that C.S. Lewis mentioned. And I think it can be considered a type of love. I don't have as much great insight to say about that. So there's a chance I'll edit that out and make some other delineation to be more useful for you. And finally, chapter 12. This is another of the really crucial, important, this might be the second most valuable chapter in this whole book, especially for those of you whose romance and relationships are not going the way you want. You know, you dive in, you give your heart to it, and you just get crushed over and over again, or whatever the case may be, it's not working out. There's a good chance that you're actually using one of the chapter 12 loves, which is entitled counterfeits. There are a lot of things, jealousy, neuroticism, immature love, which we pass off as love because, again, we just don't know love that well, and they have some big similarities, but they're either not love or they're immature versions of it. So you'll definitely want to check that out. If you see these patterns, you'll know what to do about it. You'll know how to step it up, improve the quality of your love, the way you see yourself, the way you see others, the way you connect and relate to other people in order to make those relationships work out a lot better and give you realistic, functional kind of relationship ways. So that's it. Those are the 12 chapters. Thanks for tuning in. Again, make sure and subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss out on these. This is going to change your life. It's going to change your world. Also, share these things with your friends, because don't you want to be surrounded by more loving people? I do. I want all of you to be the best you possibly can be. So thanks again for visiting the University of Life, temporarily at the University of Love. We'll see you next time.